And good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. We are focused on Matthew chapter 25, 31 and following, demonstrating that pericope, that set of scriptures, does not predict an end of time, end of the Christian age, literal, physical, geographical gathering of all nations. I understand what the language sounds like. Just the other day, I was corresponding with an individual, and, really nice guy seemed to be. And he was just saying, he's taking some of the language from the Old Testament in apocalyptic context and said, well, where have you seen this fulfilled? Where has this been fulfilled? And I responded and I said, well, the problem here is, with all due respect, that you are imposing a modern Grecian, Hellenistic perspective of literature and language onto the ancient Hebraic prophetic language. And I said, the Hebrews thought in word pictures. The Hebrew language was poetic. That doesn't mean that they couldn't say, well, 2 plus 2 equals 4. I'm not suggesting that. But they so commonly used metaphoric, hyperbolic, figurative language to express concepts, to express ideas, not literalistic, woodenly literalistic details. It is a mistake on the part of modern not translators per se, but commentators who like to say, well, the Bible says what it means, and it means what it says. Well, that's right within the perspective, within the context of Hebraic apocalyptic language. To fail to understand this, to ignore this, or even to pervert this, is to do grave injustice to biblical literature. Now, yesterday I shared with you a concept, an idea, and a fact that is overlooked by about 99.9% of all amillennial and postmillennial commentators. And I've got to tell you, growing up as a young man in the amillennial world, and I was raised as a fifth-generation member of the Churches of Christ and its amillennial views, I never, not one time, did I ever hear a single amillennial minister go to Matthew chapter 25, 31 and following and say anything remotely resembling. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand that what's going on here is the depiction of the final fulfillment of the Feast of Sukkot, the final fulfillment of Israel's eschatological feast days. Not one time. And over the last few years, I've been in countless discussions with futurists who are Lutheran or whatever, and who just simply say, well, the old law passed away at the cross. Just a couple of days ago, this was written on my YouTube video channel by this individual. He never seeks to prove it. He just asserts it. Well, here's the problem. This same individual has said, well, Jesus Christ fulfilled the first 4 feast days, that's to be sure. And he fulfilled the law. We are just waiting on the final fulfillment of the last 3. Say what? So on the one hand, here is this guy who says the law passed away at the cross. And on the other hand, he turns around and says, well, we're still waiting for the ultimate fulfillment of the last 3 feast days because the ultimate fulfillment of the judgment hasn't happened. The ultimate application of Yom Kippur hasn't happened, although he really likes to argue that the atonement was finished at the cross. Well, how can you say that the atonement was finished at the cross, but we're waiting for Rosh Hashanah to be fulfilled, and we're waiting for Sukkot to be fulfilled? That's one of the most, excuse me, excuse my bluntness, that's one of the most ridiculous concepts that could ever be stated. I'm sorry. It's just ridiculous. Argumentum ad absurdum. And then, of course, this individual, and by the way, he's not alone, so I'm not picking on a single individual, but this individual is representative of an awful lot of people who say, yes, the law passed away at the cross. We're still waiting for the ultimate fulfillment of Sukkot, the Feast of Harvest, the Feast of the Ingathering, the Feast of the Resurrection. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in Matthew chapter 5, 17 and 18, Jesus was more than emphatic, more than explicit, more than clear when he said, do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Now look, that's an elliptical statement. Now what does that mean? What do I mean by elliptical statement? Well, he said, do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets, right? I did not come to destroy, in other words, I did not come to destroy the law and the prophets, but to fulfill the law and the prophets. I mean, how redundant could one be if you demand that Jesus said, and the prophets, in every reference? That's untenable. That's not even good journalism. And it's certainly not good Hebraic thought or journalism. So Jesus said he came to fulfill the law and the prophets. And he said, verily I say unto you. Now remember, as I've shared with you before, that little Greek term that is translated as verily I say unto you is from the Greek term amen, lego humin, which never, ever breaks a subject. It never changes a subject, but it calls attention to what is about to be said that will emphasize what has just been said. Jesus said, I didn't come to destroy the law and the prophets. I came to fulfill the law and the prophets. And verily I say unto you, pay attention here. Not one jot, not one tittle shall pass from the law and the prophets. So that's the significance of the elliptical statement. Not one jot, not one tittle shall pass from the law and the prophets until it is all fulfilled. Notice what Jesus said. Until it, the body, the entire corpus of the law and the prophets is fulfilled. Brought to pass. What was stated comes to a reality. Now, let me ask you a question. Is or were Israel's last 3 feast days part of, an intrinsic part of, a fundamental part of, a massive part of the law and the prophets? Now, if you say, oh, no, they were a minor part, then let me say this as kindly as I know how, with as much respect as I know how, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how else to put it. Now look, I fully understand being ignorant of these things because I was absolutely, totally ignorant of these things not all that terribly long ago. Remember, I was raised in the all-millennial world that said, that taught, that emphasized, that emphatically stated the law, the entirety of the law, passed away at the cross. Now, in the amillennial world, and I'm going to have to address this probably tomorrow, because, listen, folks, we have to see this as definitively related to Matthew chapter 25, 31 and following. Attempts are made to avoid the force, the power, the significance, and the application of Matthew chapter 5, its application to Matthew chapter 25, 31 in regard to Israel's feast days. So back to the question. Were Israel's feast days, and at this point we are particularly concerned with the last 3 feast days, but we have to include all of them, were they an intrinsic, fundamental, massive part of the law and the prophets? Well, let's see. In Leviticus chapter 23, look, let me make this observation. I don't know of anyone that denies that Leviticus was a part of the law. I don't know of anyone that says that. Okay, so what do we find in Leviticus chapter 23? We have an iteration of, a revelation of Israel's festal calendar. In other words, we have the revelation, the mandate, and the command to observe Sukkot, the last of the feast days, which foreshadowed the resurrection, which foreshadowed the ingathering of the nations of Matthew 25, 31 and following. Now, if it's true, and it is, if it's true that Leviticus chapter 23 is part, parcel, and fundamental, a massive element of the law, and if it is true, and it is, that Jesus said, not one jot, not one tittle shall pass from the law and the prophets until it is all fulfilled, then not one jot, not one tittle would pass from the law of Moses, until the Feast of Sukkot, meaning the gathering of the nations at the resurrection of Matthew 25, 31 and following was fulfilled. I've said this on many occasions. The importance of understanding that the law of Moses did not pass away at the cross, that doctrine is one of the most fundamentally misunderstood, misapplied, and distorted doctrines in all of Christianity, because it misplaces eschatology. And it says eschatology belongs to the church as a, quote, Gentile reality, since God was through with Israel and the law at the cross. Remember, in my review of Ken Pope's book, Thinking About AD 70, that was his position. That's the position of the amillennial and the postmillennial world. God was through with Israel and the law at the cross. And yet they turn around and tell us we're still waiting for the resurrection, which was part of the law foreshadowed in Sukkot. I'm sorry, folks. Massive, massive, and fatal contradiction. Look, so for the month of, what did I do with those things? Oh, here we are. I knew I had them. For the month of February 2022, U.S. orders only. I'm going to offer 3 books. AD 70, A Shadow of the Real End, ? Regularly $17.95. The End of the Law, The Passing of the Law of Moses, Torah to Tell Us, volume number 1, and the end of Torah at the Cross, or AD 70. This was a written debate that I had with Kurt Simmons on the passing of the law, regularly $19.95. Now, if you purchased all three of these separately and paid separate shipping, you'd pay over $70. For the month of February 2022, U.S. orders only, your total delivered price, $49.95. It's going to save you $21, folks. So go to my website, DonKPreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. Beautiful banner right up at the top. Just click on it, march right through it. Okay? Now, tomorrow, on Thursday, we're going to have more to say about Leviticus 23, Sukkot, and Matthew chapter 25, 31 and following. This is, critical stuff. My goodness, excuse me. So I'll see you on the flip side.